Who has the biggest kill count in Frieren? Like, out of everyone, if we go through and add up each and every time one of the characters gets someone, then who sits the highest on a throne of skulls or a little wagon, you know, a little celebratory wagon, because that's a bit more in keeping with this show. Let's find out who is the most dangerous out of everyone in Frieren. And yeah, Frieren the Funeral, the Slayer, pretty high up there, I mean, obviously. But it actually just comes down to 2 seconds of screen time that puts her up there. Otherwise, it's much younger people getting the majority of the kills. I've gone through and counted up everything to see which character actually has the biggest kill count in Frieren. Now, it might be a shonen series with some breathtaking action, but so much of Frieren being slow hangout, wandering around, does mean these totals are lower. It even employs that old trick to make the violence more palatable by making them, most often, magical beasts that turn into mana instead of normal people that, you know, leave a body behind. Or at least half of one. But I'm not getting philosophical about the demon humanoid thing here. Mana, normal body, I don't care. This is everyone in Frieren ranked by their kill count, starting with those with no blood on their hands, otherwise known as the Perfect Little Angel Club. So in the grand total of kills in Frieren, who has completely clean hands? There are some unsurprising ones here. Heiter, man of the cloth, obviously far too moral to do anything like that. Maybe he got involved in a fight or two along the way, but he's clearly a gentle soul and we've never seen him as much as kill a monster. The vast majority of the test participants also make this list. These guys are all perfect little angels who didn't kill anyone. Or probably did, but not on screen, you know. These two, they don't kill anyone. They waterboard a guy, like that's kind of torture, but they don't let him die, at least. They just break the Geneva Convention because a guy was a bit smug to them. It's understandable. Even the head of the Continental Magic Association has never actually killed anyone on screen. I'm sure she's done stuff we haven't seen. There's the odd implication she can be pretty hurtful with her words. But in what we've actually witnessed, she's not that interested in getting hands-on. A big example of listening to what they do rather than what they say. Is she really a massive warmongerer? Or is she a sentimental old lady playing matchmaker with all the nice young people who help her with her garden? I don't know, until she starts stacking up some serious demon scalps though. I'm going to assume it's the latter, more interested in roses. This is the full list of those with a count of 0 right now. Okay, you got all of them? Obviously that's not counting a ton of unnamed characters. We'll even admit the lady who mouths off in the church, even though, you know, that was a deadly burn. To cut to the actual people who have made the list, we have in 10th, Eisen. Now Eisen is part of a few different battle scenes, but it's only actually once that we see him genuinely end anything. This guy does some pretty cool stuff like this, but he doesn't finish the job more than once. There are other occasions where it's vague what happened, like the hero's party all in a fight, maybe these two got their hands dirty off screen more often, but there is only one firm kill for Eisen. Next is someone with the opposite vibes. Genau in number 9. Yeah, the guy who talks about survival and strength and all of that. The angry man with the dog-bird transformation that doesn't care. He's only actually killed 2 demons on screen, and frankly, they both had it coming. Genau is much more moral than he wants to claim. Maybe this old lady passes on more than spells to her students. Anyway, he kills 2 demons, this one and this one. That's it. I suppose you could say the off-screen deaths in the first test were his fault, but not really. I don't want to get into giving people blame for this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not going to go into butterfly effect here. Like, sure, we could say Heiter saves Fern, therefore is responsible for the many, many people she has killed after they ran out of donuts, but it wouldn't be on him. We can't attribute everything that's happened in Europe since the 1910s to the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And similarly, we can't count some fights over a bird as Genau's fault. It's getting into alternative history and weird speculation, and I'm not counting all those deaths as their fault. It's just fair. We'll stick to cause and effect here. So Genau's test takers, they're not his fault. Everyone could have left alive under different circumstances, and no one gets credit for the demons their students kill either, which brings us to number 7 on the list. Flamme. Yeah, the old legendary mage makes the top 10 despite the tiny screen time. She kills some demons in an early flashback, presumably she kills a ton more before and after, but we see such a small chunk of her life. It is a lot per minute though. For her screen time, she gets pretty damn high. What's really weird is that Flamme is tied with someone who plays a much bigger role, Himmel the hero. Both of these two have only actually killed something 3 times on screen. For Himmel, it's down to the exact framing more than anything else, you know? Because Himmel is pictured in the aftermath of a fight more often than in the midst of one. So we don't get to see a ton of his end games. In the second episode, he kills a big monster. Then in the second season, he kills something in episode 2, and we cut to a flashback as the mana particles for a demon dying are fading around the sword they were searching for. And he's putting his old replica blade back away. Now, we don't see it exactly, but I think the implication in this scene is clear. He killed a demon. Also, Frieren is apparently very cold in the background. It's just, I didn't spot that before. It's a cute shot. But Himmel's framing is quite specific. We so rarely see him in violence. I think that's why sequences like that chase that opened up the second season are quite memorable. We hear a lot about the legacy of the hero's party, but the flashbacks are less action and more side quest. So a low kill count for Himmel the hero, yeah. As well as being tied, I think there's something interesting with these two specifically. I thought going through that even with less screen time for them, Himmel and Flamme would probably be higher because they come from a more violent time. I can't include all the times we cut just before Himmel obviously kills a demon, or all the times we see him stuck by a dead monster because it could have been Frieren. I mean, it probably was Frieren going by these numbers. Himmel, at least in Frieren's memory, as we tend to see him, is a much gentler soul. If we're talking kills per screen time though, the next person up on the kill count leaderboard, they're probably the highest. We have the hero of the South in 6th place. That's just because he killed those sages. Yeah. There are actually very few deaths in Frieren, so when a guy wipes a handful out all at once, that gets him on the leaderboard of inhumanity, even if he immediately dies afterwards, or maybe falls into some kind of eternal struggle with his demonic equal. I don't know what happened to him, you know. So I'm sure the hero of the South has a bigger list. You don't run through the continent that quickly, up the Demon King's supply lines, and get all the sages to amass to face you without causing some real problems for the government of the day. We'll talk about the implied kills later, but since he's only briefly on the screen, his numbers are lower. If he kept that demon-slaying performance up for the rest of his life at this middle age that he's at here, he probably would have solved the world's problems single-handedly. But as it stands, he did make a pretty big impact still. And next up is someone who's a lot less altruistic in their killing. Übel. Alright, so I have to say, this kind of shocked me. But not because I was unsure how many people she'd killed. I mean, I had a pretty clear idea of the few animated so far. I used the clips quite a bit. But just that if we only take humans into account, Übel has killed the most outside of demons. She's by far the worst. It's not even going to be a spoiler to show the rest of this list. Like, this is how it compares. It's how many people have killed humanoids so far in the anime. So yeah. Weirdly, Übel is responsible for pretty much all the deaths in the mage exams. There's some who die off screen in the first test, and we never see how far Denken takes his little Rocky Balboa last stand over here. But from what we actually witness, being someone in an Übel flashback is lethal. If Übel remembers encountering you, you're either dead or glasses. Those are the only outcomes. Everyone else she forgets. There are 3 bandits that Übel probably killed. The memory of her killing the Proctor. 2, I mean, it's a little weird how many people she's killed in flashback. Although the Proctor was more manslaughter than murder, and the bandits are only implied. Mostly, Frieren only shows the physical deaths of demons and monsters, slightly inhumane creatures, you know. A humanoid, an elf, a dwarf, one of those people dying is different. It would impact the view of the characters to see that more often. Even with demons, the narrative stresses that it's different to a humanoid character dying multiple times. Even if they can speak, they just disappear into dust at the end. It draws a line. Übel steps over that line, and no one else does that. I mean, the 3 bandits, they're an antagonist. They're basically a villain, really, and the Proctor was ambiguous if it was genuine aggression or just an accident from lack of caring about people's lives, you know? So yeah, Übel kills a lot more humans, but this series does consistently find ways to present this as not quite over the line. She's just kind of on it, you know? It is inhumane, especially in an era where so many people seem to go through natural causes. Alright, maybe this is pushing it a bit, but the fourth most common cause of death in Frieren is old age. I really think this is worth bringing up. What other series has most of their deaths coming from the clock moving forward? Just natural deaths. Himmel dies of old age in episode 1. Episode 2 has another scalp for Father Time. I mean, that's potentially liver disease, let's be honest here. Natural causes at this age is a good run though. Flamme dies of old age, despite the rougher times she lived in and frequent encounters with demons. Dying of old age after a dangerous career adventuring and trying to make an impact. It's nice that all the major figures we meet around Frieren seem to have gotten that nice ending, I mean other than him. The village elder also died off-screen in episode 12. At that point in the series, by the way, old age was the second most common fate. Even in the current spot in the story, old age has killed the most named characters, which is a little sweet, really. Okay, so here's where we get into the big numbers, and you can probably tell who it is just purely by who we haven't talked about so far. So in third, it's Fern. So, the first time we see her put an end to a monster is this ghost thing, and she does manage to turn the staff on the man who raised her. We see more of her killing monsters in flashbacks. Generally, she's pretty good at cleaning up various monsters. Like these little cow lads in episode 9. She takes out her demon antagonist in the Aura arc, same as the other two, but she also demolishes a burger that's presumably made from a cow. No need to get too deep into that, but if we were to factoring in effect on the supply chain and your demand, Fern is probably single-handedly responsible for driving a good number of cattle deaths. After Aura wraps up, there's a bit of peace and quiet, but the 12th episode is an ecological disaster. A magic sword has all the local wildlife all riled up, so Frieren, Fern and Stark all decide to start massacring the local animals. They kill the males, the females, the children. Probably this one looks pretty small to me. I think that's a child evil wolf creature. Maybe it's just far away. There are a few cases like this where they all go at wildlife. This lady just fucking hates wildlife, man. What Frieren is to demons, maybe Fern is to animals. Later in the third episode of season 2, they kill a dragon. We don't see who landed the killing blow, but given Fern's hatred of wildlife, I wouldn't be surprised if it was her. There's the two demons at the end of this arc, and them. Finally, in this last section, after a lot of work, Fern gets another big dog monster. And that's pretty much the end of the line. Along the way, Fern does take out numerous demons. She's really getting up there in demon kills too. Not quite overtaking her master yet, but she's definitely learning the family trade. Fern is pretty high up on this list given her age. Frieren has really crafted a little monster and donut killing machine. But in second place, we've got someone who only just missed out by a single shot. So often, the bait, the chew toy, he suffers while these two ladies get into position. To actually look at it though, Stark is absolutely lethal. It kind of shows something about his fighting techniques compared to the others. It starts when he's first introduced, and killing a dragon, which is kind of a dick move. I mean, it was literally hiding from him in fear. It was running away. It was retreating. Come on, man. He kills this two-headed monster, this thing with these guys, while his party members are having a tea party. In the Hero's Sword segment, Stark kills 27 wolves without even turning around, which is pretty cold. That's more than half his entire total, by the way, just farming wolves here. More dragons, like a ton of dragons in his count. I know Frieren and Fern do their bit, but you can see here best how his fighting style means he takes more out. While they're getting into position, Stark has already killed 5 dragons just offhandedly before turning into a sonic ball. While long-range fighters get things perfect and plan, Stark is out there doing things. He's even killed his fair share of demons, if two, including one of the less threatening-looking ones and one of the most. So Stark is the Frieren character with the second highest total kill count. Maybe we should put a little more respect on his name before constantly saying everyone is stronger than him. He's clearly a vital element of the party. Frieren the Slayer is nearly bested by the guy scared of his own shadow who has only been travelling for a short while. Her apprentice is quickly becoming the go-to for monster farming too. But ultimately, yeah, Frieren takes the number 1 slot, but she pretty much owes all of that to a few seconds long shot that's vague at best. So Stark might be number 2, but only by a technicality. So in number 1, it's Frieren is kind of Frieren. By a technicality, we'll get to it. Frieren the Funeral, the Slayer, whatever you want to call her, Scourge of Demons, who actually hasn't killed that many demons on screen. And okay, so this isn't a huge surprise. I did a little poll and pretty much everyone agreed it was her. But on screen, her total is surprisingly low given her nickname and time spent alive and time on the screen. I mean, her name's the title. Frieren has technically killed 66. And yeah, she's killed the most demons out of anyone we see, which is fitting. But most of her count comes from monsters, and if we discount one screen where it's not even clear if she did kill them or if it was just a battle she was wading into, she'd be in number 2. And this guy would be first. It's still not really Frieren the Slayer's stats here, is it? Not the huge totals we've heard about. I think more happens off screen. But for a reputation within fan communities, you'd have thought she was putting down demons every week. She does get off to a pretty violent start, though. She can't even get through a hike with an old man to see a meteor shower without murdering something. And she kills Qual, first demon, eventually a ghost of Himmel, and yeah, plenty of demons along the way, a couple of them. But it's the orifice and these two very specific details that really affect this list. This few seconds that put her in first. But first, did Frieren actually murder a ton of innocent soldiers here by mistake? It all comes down to, are these people actually dead yet? So Aura uses her scales of obedience to take control of them and use them as soldiers. But does she technically kill them? I mean, they lose their heads. But when Frieren uses the scales back on Aura, she doesn't die until she's explicitly ordered to. Then she stops moving. She's dead. They've had their head chopped off, but the bodies are somehow still moving around. I assume the spell is enough to control the bodies even if they are already dead. So they're moving, but the spell is about control, not puppeteering like Necromancer style. I don't know. I'm going to say that Frieren is just disrespecting some already dead soldiers here with the eventual goal of freeing them. I'm not counting these guys. All she's doing is dispelling whatever hold Aura already has over what's left of these people. Just because they're moving, it doesn't mean they're alive. This whole fight only counts as one for Frieren. Aura cast the spell, so I guess it's as much of an own goal for her, and she might have technically held the sword, but it's on Frieren's specific instruction that she does it. She could have told Aura to dedicate herself to cleaning up litter in the countryside instead. Maybe that would have been a nicer use of that spell, but this counts as a Frieren kill. A little earlier, we also get maybe the only shot that really fits the Frieren the Funeral stuff. Her descending on the aftermath of a considerable fight between demons and people. It looks like she's killed 21, I think? Okay, so some of these guys are clearly soldiers. And while we're talking about this shot, I never really understood how this guy got out of this situation, by the way. He seems pretty much done here, right? But yeah, that one shot is like a third of Frieren's total. And to be honest, it's kind of arguable if she's responsible for all of these. Did the soldiers take out some? Is Himmel just off screen slashing them? Did Eisen go goblin mode on them? I think we can assume it's Frieren, but if we were being more conservative, Stark would have first place still, because it's just this one shot that gets her ahead. For a slight flashback to like a random battle, it really does inflate her count. Later, she kills like 7 to 8 wolves and a bird. What follows after that is kind of the end of Frieren's rampage. There aren't as many demons in the next arc, which means less trouble for her. She kills 6 monsters in a flashback at one point, and then she destroys this thing, which I think is sentient. It's alive, apparently. It can make these magical duplicates. It's got something weird about it. Frieren just hates non-humanoid life, I guess. She's decided she's the arbitrator of what gets to live. So in the second test, these clones don't count to me. They're essentially golems, aren't they? They're not independent people, they're just sort of shadows, reflections. I think there's something more interesting there thematically, making them little mirror images of everyone without agency, just being strung along on someone else's journey. But they don't count as a death to me, since they just, reform afterwards. They're not permanent. This little fellow at the end, though, the one making them, that is its own thing. I don't know what exactly it is, but I think it's sentient. I think it counts. She kills some more monsters in early season 2, but doesn't do shit in the major demon fight, Although she makes up for that when faced with some birds, and it's just pure rage at birds whenever it comes up from Frieren. By my count, Frieren had taken out 1, these 2 both dodge at first, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think there's an 8th there. But we also probably have to assume that one of these beams is now coming from Fern, since there's a lot happening all at once. And when we cut back, they were both action ready, so we have to say some were Fern, some were Frieren. All of this puts Frieren about 66, 65, 64, roughly. Or just 1 kill below Stark if we don't count this bit, but 66 overall. And from the series' lore, that's a drop in the ocean, apparently. Now, we're to try and factor in what we know about their off-screen lives. What would this list look like? I think that's actually an important part of it. And we have it on pretty good authority that Frieren's demon kill count would probably be the highest in the series, wouldn't it? Just for the hypothetical numbers, I'd say so. It's claimed she's killed more demons than anyone else. Not sure how anyone would know that. I mean, is there like a registry? Do they do a census of all the demons and they knock them off when they're dead? Cause of death, Frieren? I mean, I don't know. But we can take them at their word that that's roughly true. In what we've seen of her life, that's been the case. Even in the Himmel flashback, she seems to be dealing the killing blow more often than not. Frieren has likely amassed a ridiculous number of demon kills over the years. Let's just say tons. The others who I think will probably have a higher number off screen include Himmel. In flashbacks, he seems pretty efficient at farming demons and monsters later on, after being quite naive about them at one point. So to me, that suggests a ton of experience over that journey. He probably killed a lot of the demons too. Aura was even hiding from him. Again, how'd she get out of that? But he only lived a human's lifespan and did retire at a certain point, so probably under Frieren. The years he was active, just by minutes spent fighting, probably puts him a lot lower. He might have the biggest gap between the legend and, the myth of what he's done, the achievement, what we hear talked about, and what we actually get to see. I think that's a nice factor, though. The Himmel seems to exist more warmly in Frieren's memory than in real life. We probably know he has killed more demons, but we focus on the nicer parts. Flamme also, probably. A ton of demons. I don't know enough to put her above or below Himmel, we didn't really see. I'd reckon above, just since she was the most experienced demon hunter of her party, but also she spent more time training and teaching, and she didn't directly take on the Demon King, So maybe below. But I'd imagine since Himmel was retired for a lot of his time, he's maybe a little less, The Hero of the South, likely a decent number 2. He did do most of his in a brief run, but someone who hasn't come up at all, but is probably higher, is this guy. There's a scene with child soldiers, other implied kills from him, but we never actually see it. So he's still in that perfect little angels club, despite what's implied. Genau too, we see a lot of implied demon kills, probably some mage kills if we're really speculating, but we don't see most of it. Denken, probably higher. I think if we know the totality of their lives, the rankings would probably look different, but in terms of how the audience sees and relates to the characters, Frieren is probably near the top in both. Some crazy takeaways from this though. Übel murders more people than Himmel defeats monsters, and both are always in flashbacks. Heiter is a gentle soul. We see more people die of old age than anything else. Frieren, Fern, and Stark are all kind of menaces when it comes to monsters, but Stark absolutely has them beat for numbers actually killed on screen. For the chew toy and bait in the fights, he's often the one finishing things. That bigger rankings are with monsters. If we change it to just humans, it tells a very different story. Only those few people have ever actually killed humans, which seems to be a defining line for Frieren. Demons are a separate issue, but it's just them and Übel really. So while Stark wins the highest confirmed kill count, Frieren the highest overall, we've got to go a little side award to Übel here. It's all a little weird to say we're supposedly in the era of peace. I expected the past to be more violent. Flamme kills a lot for her screen time, so does the Hero of the South, but Frieren I assumed would be at the top since she's got the most screen time and exists in all 3 time periods. Yet, it turns out that she does most of her killing in this one-off screen flashback. And those stories of the hero's party are more often framed in the aftermath, standing in front of a body, talking to a village that's been recently saved, looking for rewards, trading stories. The fights do still happen, but most of Frieren's memories of that time aren't the violence, but the sweet stories afterwards. So in Frieren's memory, Himmel is more often the noble defender, and less often the actual fighter. I had thought the modern day would be more peaceful, and it is, to a point, since we start to see old age rise up to the middle ground of cause of death in Frieren, something that was unheard of in the other 2 eras. We see a lot more monster farming in the present, but these kill counts do seem to reflect that the world is becoming a less dangerous place in the aftermath of the hero's party's journey. And the lingering memory of that party's journey isn't the demons they killed, but the interactions they had and the connections they built. We might get to see more of the monster hunting of the current party, but ultimately it seems they're leaving a similar legacy in the journey north. It's hard to think that when people are reminiscing about this group, they're going to be thinking of the 27 wolves and not the bad beer. Hey, I've been Computer, and thanks for watching. You sat all the way through. It was a long one. There's more shorter, less stupid videos probably on the screen. You know how YouTube works. Alright, cheers.